We're on SAT Practice Test 8, and we're talking about opportunities to plug in. Plugging in is the best, easiest, fastest way to raise your SAT score. SAT Practice Test 8 offers 14 opportunities to plug in. 13 plugins on SAT Practice Test 8 are medium and hard questions. There's also an easy question where you can plug in. So what does that mean? That means that 38% of all medium and hard questions are plugins on SAT Practice Test 8. And when you plug in, you aren't going to miss. You turn medium and hard SAT problems into easy arithmetic problems. On Section 1 of SAT Practice Test 8, number 6 is a plug-in. You don't have to plug in. It's an easy question. Then when you get to the medium questions, number 8 is a plug in the answers. Number 13 is a function you got to plug in. Number 14 you can plug in. Number 17 is a classic plug-in. 18 is plug in the answers. And 21 is a function where you pretty much got to plug in. Then on Section 2, get to the mediums. 7 and 8 are plug-ins. 9 is a hard, it's a plug-in. 12 is a plug in the answers. 16, 17, and 19 all contain plug-in concepts, and you can plug in and get the answers right. Please master plugging in. Watch my videos, learn how to do it, and raise your score very easily. This is SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 6. What's the level of difficulty here? It's easy. The first 7 questions of any Section 1 of any SAT are going to be easy. Which expression is equivalent to this big old mess? I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this. I'm going to show you the real math way, which is what I would choose since it's an easy question. I don't really like to plug in on easy questions. There's no need. But I'm also going to show you how you could plug in if you want to. 7x to the third. I'm going to save a step here. I'm going to get rid of these parentheses. Plus 7x, easy enough, minus 6x to the third, but negatives can really kill. Be careful here, right? It's minus, so it's plus 3x. I'm going to write down A, B, C, D, and I'm just going to combine like terms one at a time. So here's 7x to the third. This goes with any other x to the third. See any? There's one. So it's 7 minus 6 x to the third. So it's just x to the third. So now go and cross off any answer choices that don't have just x to the third. So B and C are gone. And then come in here and do this. 7x and 3x, that's plus 10x. And so the answer is A. Alright, if you want to stick with me, I'll show you how you can plug in here. It's obviously really easy. How do you know that you can plug in? You've got variables in the problem. You've got variables all over the answer choices. So you just want to make them an easy number for x, like 2. And then when you're plugging in, you don't want to get rid of this parentheses. You just want to say 7 times 2 to the third, so 7 times 8, which is 56, plus 7 times 2, which is 14, minus 6 times 8, which is 48, minus 3 times 2, which is 6. So 56 plus 14, don't be afraid to use your calculator, that's 70, minus 48, minus 6. That's 70 minus 42. Even I'm going to use my calculator on this, and I'm going to get 28. So 28 is my target. I'm going to circle it. Go down to the answer choices. A says x to the third. I said x is 2, so that's 8 plus 10 times 2. 8 plus 20, that's 28. That's the answer. We knew that was going to happen. But if I try them all, this is negative 13 times 8 plus 20. Definitely calculator math. 13 times 8, negative 104 plus 20. I don't need to do any more. That's not going to be 28. So now I'm going to do C. I know that this is going to be negative 104 plus 4 times 2, so plus 8. Don't need to do anything with that. Obviously not going to be 28. And then D is 8 plus 4 times 2. That's 16. That's not 28. So either way you slice it, you're going to get answer choice A. It's an easy question, easy answer. You can definitely do the real math, no problem. Just got to be careful with negatives. Get it right, move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math, Section 1, Question 8. What's the level of difficulty here? It's medium. It's the first medium in the first section. You've got this equation. What is one of the solutions to the given equation? Guys, this problem is a plug in the answer choices problem. How do I know that? It's because I've got either a story problem or just an equation, and Evil Testing Service is asking me straight up for the solution, and the answer choices are the only thing that I need. So I'm just going to go in, I'm going to write ABCD, and I'm just going to plug in one of the answers and see what works. Which answer choice should I start with? Well, I'm lazy, and I encourage you to be lazy too. What's the easiest answer choice here? I would say it's B, 0. So I'm just going to say x equals 0. I'm going to see what happens. So that would be 3 times 0, which is 0, times 0 minus 4 times 0 plus 5. That's going to be 0, right? Because 0 times anything, no matter what all this stuff is 0. So B works. Guys, that's it. That's the answer. When you plug in the answer choices and you find what you need, you get it, you move on. But let's try all the other ones. I know, you're a skeptic. So if we try answer choice A, that's x equals negative 4. 3 times negative 4, that's negative 12. Times negative 4 minus 4, that's negative 8. Times negative 4 plus 5, that's 1. That ain't going to be 0. So that's gone. Let's try answer choice C, 3. I'm going to do that over here. X equals 3. It's going to be 3 times 3, which is 9, times 3 minus 4, that's negative 1, times 3 plus 5, that's 8. Is that going to be 0? Nope, it's not. And then D says x equals 5. Okay, so 3 times 5 is 15. Times 5 minus 4 is 1. Times 5 plus 5 is 10. That ain't going to be 0 either. All the work that we just did, we did not need to do. As soon as we find the answer, when we plug in the answer choices, we didn't make anything up. We know we're right. We can get this problem very quickly and move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 13. Level of difficulty here is medium. It's the last medium question in Section 1. It's a plug-in. There's no choice but to plug in on this problem. The function f of t equals 60,000 times 2 to the t over 410 gives the number of bacteria in a population t minutes after an initial observation. How much time in minutes does it take for the number of bacteria in the population to double? So write down what you're looking for. It doesn't have to be elegant or fancy. It just helps to know exactly what you want on these slightly complex questions. It's a function. SAT functions love 0 and 1. So if you're not sure what to do on a function, try plugging in 0 or 1. Write down the function. What is t? ETS tells you that t is minutes. Let's just try plugging in 0 here. So it's 60,000 times 2 to the 0 over 410. At t equals 0, what is 0 over 410? It's 0. So it's 2 to the 0. And what's 2 to the 0? What's anything to the 0? It's 1. So all of this is just 60,000 times 1, and you end up with 60,000. 60,000 what? 60,000 bacteria. What is 0 minutes? 0 minutes is when you start. That's the initial observation. So at the initial observation, you have 60,000 bacteria. What are you trying to get to? You're trying to get to 120,000 bacteria because you're trying to get it to double. All right, let's just run the function again. I'll do it over here, kind of running out of space. 60,000 times 2 to the t over 410. I want it to be 120,000. Just think about it. What's 60,000 times 2? That's 120,000, right? So what do I want t over 410 to be? Well, I obviously want it to be 1, because I want it to be 120,000 equals 120,000. So I guess you could do some fancy algebra here, but guys, think about it. If t over 410 is 1, what's t going to have to be? It's going to have to be 410. And that's it. That's the answer. You get it right, and now you move on to some fun hard questions. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 14. What's the level of difficulty here? It's hard. It's the first hard question, kind of medium hard. Each year, the value of an investment increases by 0.49% of its value the previous year. Which of the following functions best models how the value of the investment changes over time? This question is so easy that it's hard. First thing you want to do on a question like this is write down A, B, C, D, and let's just ballpark. ETS tells us that the investment increases in value. So is it going to decrease or is it going to increase? The facts of the question say it's going to increase. So A and B are obviously gone. Now the question is it going to increase exponentially or is it going to increase linearly? The easiest way to do this is just to try it out. Is there anything special about 0.49% as a percentage that goes up? And there's not, other than the fact that it's obviously a crappy investment because it's not going up very much. It's not special that it's below 1%. It's going to operate like any percent. So let's just see what would happen with a percent that's easier. Like, how about 50%? And then how much money is invested here? ETS doesn't say, so let's just make something up. Let's make up year 0. We go to the bank and we invest $100. So at year 1, what happens here? It's $150. Okay, year 2 is going to be 50% of 150. So I'm just going to cross off zeros here. You could also do this on your calculator. That's $75. What's going to happen in that $75? You're going to add it to 150. Again, don't be ashamed to use your calculator here, and you're going to get $225. So year 0, you had $100. Year 1, you had $150. And now year 2, you got $225. Is this an exponential increase or is it linear? Linear means goes up exactly the same and exactly the same way each time. Is that what's happening here? It's not. So the answer is C. You get this right real quick and move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 17. What's the level of difficulty here? It's definitely hard, but not if you plug in. How do you know this problem is a plug-in? There's a bunch of letters here. There's a bunch of letters here. There's a bunch of letters in the answer choices. There's no constants. It says in terms of something. It says in terms of P and K. These are all indicators that you can plug in. And if you plug in, you turn hard algebra into very easy arithmetic. The given equation relates the distinct positive numbers p, k, and j, which equation correctly expresses 4j plus 9 in terms of p and k. In your mind, I want you to cross off in terms of p and k. It's useless information. You're looking for 4j plus 9. So write it down and circle it. Go up here and make up numbers for letters. You should start plugging in where there's math happening. Is there more math happening at P, K, or J? It's obviously J. So I'm going to make J my favorite J in the whole wide world, my favorite number to plug in, which is 2, which means that 4J plus 9 is 4 times 2 plus 9, which is 17. Incidentally, that's what I'm looking for, so I'm going to go down here, I'm going to write it down, I'm going to circle it big. And then the next place that most math is happening is at K. I got to use something that's divisible by 17. I'm going to use 51. So K is 51. And then P, I don't get to make stuff up anymore. P has to be 51 divided by 17, so P has to be 3. I'm looking for 17. So K over P. K is 51. over P is 3. That checks out, that's 17. I'm golden. If I'm in a hurry, I could just pick it and move on. K times P, that's 51 times 3. I don't know what that is. I don't need to know. It is definitely not 17, so it's gone. K minus P, that's 48, not 17, so it's gone. And then P over K, this is probably the answer for the people who insist on doing algebra. 3 over 51, which is some little fraction. So the answer's got to be A. You are sure you're right when you leave this hard question, when you plug in. Please plug in. It's the easiest way to raise your score. Get it right and move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 1, Question 18. What's the level of difficulty here? It's hard. Evil Testing Service loves these questions. They come up all the time. I hate them. They're a lot of work. You can and should plug in the answer choices. It's the best way. You'll avoid all the potential wrong answers. It just sucks. You got this equation, y is bigger than 13x minus 18. And all they're asking every time is just which set of numbers in the answer choices works for x and y every time. So write A, B, C, D. And then just go down the answer choices and start plugging in. When you plug in, rewrite the chart. You don't have to write the whole chart, but write the numbers you're plugging in. It will help you to avoid confusing x and y. So here we've got y is 21. That's bigger than 13 times 3, 39, minus 18. Do that on your calculator. 39 minus 18 is 21. So, is 21 bigger than 21? It's not. So A is gone. You don't need to do any more work in A. And now you go to B. Again, write the chart, the parts that you're going to use to avoid mixing up x and y. This time we've got y is 26 is bigger than 13 times 3, you've already done that, 39 minus 18. You already know that that's 21. Is 26 bigger than 21? It is, that checks out. So, got to keep going. The next set of numbers is 5 and 42. So, y is 42. That's bigger than 13 times 5. Calculator math. That's 65. Minus 18. More calculator math. That's 47. Is 42 bigger than 47? It's not. So B is gone, and you move on. C. This time I've got y is 16. That's bigger than 13 times 3, 39, minus 18. You've already done that. 21. Is 16 bigger than 21? It's not. So C is gone. If you're in a hurry, you know D is the right answer, because nothing else works. But let's check it out. This time, what's my y? It's 26 is bigger than, we've done this 18 times now, 39 minus 18. Checks out. All right? 52 is bigger than 13 times 5. We've already done that. That's 65 minus 18. 52 bigger than 47. Checks out. All right? So last one, 91 is y, is bigger than 13 times 8. This one's new. Calculator math, 104 minus 18. More calculator math. 91 is bigger than 86. So the answer is D. You get this problem right. You know you're right. And now you get to move on to some really hard problems to close out Section 1. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math, Section 1, number 21. What's the level of difficulty here? It's hard. For most people, it's going to be stupid hard because they're going to see this term coefficient. They're going to see these exponent terms. They're going to freak out. But guys, this problem is very simple. It's really just a vocabulary problem. And it makes me mad because It's really easy. It's hard to explain. It's actually kind of poorly written. For the exponential function f, the value of f of 1 is k. K is a constant. Which of the following equivalent forms of the function f shows the value of k as the coefficient or the base? What's a coefficient? You've been dealing with coefficients your whole life. It's a fancy term for something very easy. Ever seen 3x? 3 is the coefficient. It's the number that's attached to a letter. You ever seen 4y? 4 is the coefficient. How about 8n? What's the coefficient? It's 8. So it's just like the beginning number. So you're going to do f of 1, which means you're going to follow the directions. So every time you see an x, just means put in a 1. Before we do it, what are the coefficients in these answer choices? What's the coefficient in A? It's 50. In B, it's 80. What is it in C? It's 128. And what is it in D? It's 204.8. So you're going to want to do the function and end up with the coefficient. So again, you're just following directions. Every time you see an x, you're going to put in a 1. So this one is 50 times 1.6 to the what? To the 1 plus 1, which is 2. Okay, you don't need to do anything else here because you know that you're going to try to get to 50. And whatever this is, it's way bigger. Well, it's somewhat bigger than 50. It's not 50. So that's gone. So I'm going to write A, B, C, D up here. Cross out A. All right, B. Do it again. 80 times 1.6 to the what? To the 1, because it says we're supposed to do f of 1. So 80 times 1.6, you're supposed to end up with 80. Is that going to happen? No, you don't need to do anything with that. All right, fine. Let's try C. 128 times 1.6 to the x minus 1, to the 1 minus 1. What's that? 0. All right, this is interesting. There's a rule here that you got to commit to memory and know. Anything to the 0 power is 1. So what is 1.6 to the 0 power? It's 1. So all of this is just 128. So when we did the function, do we end up with the coefficient? We do. So C is the answer. If you want to try D, it's 204.8 times 1.6 to the 1 minus 2, which is negative 1. Some disastrous calculator thing that you have to do. You know you're not going to end up with 204.8. It's gone. The answer to this question is C, and it's really easy if you just understand what coefficient is and if you just run the function. Get it right and move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 2. Welcome to question 7. Level of difficulty, it's medium. The function f is given. There it is. Which table of values represents y equals f of x minus 3? So the way to do this is you're going to say y equals the function, and then you're going to subtract 3. There's the function, minus 3. This is a classic plug in the answers problem. We're just going to go down to the answer choices. We're going to plug in the x's and y's. We're going to see what works. Answer choice A. Write down the x and y combo that you're dealing with right now. Don't confuse the x's and the y's. So here, we got y is negative 9, x is negative 6. Every time we see a y, we're going to put in negative 9. Every time we see an x, we're going to put in negative 6. There's a y, so it's negative 9, equals, there's an x, so it's negative 6. Negative 6 plus 6, what is that? That's 0. Times negative 6 plus 5, that's negative 1. Times negative 6 minus 4, what's that? Negative 10. Minus 3. Okay, what is all of this? It's just 0. 0 times anything is 0. So it's 0 minus 3, which is negative 3. Does negative 9 equal negative 3? Doesn't. So A is gone because we found something that didn't work. Now we move on to B. Again, write down your x's and y's so you don't get them confused. The first one is -6 and -3. You don't need to write down the whole chart. So what's y? It's -3 equals, you just did this one, 0, -6 plus 6, -6 plus 5 is -1, -6 minus 4 is -10, minus 3. We just did this. We know that when we multiply all this together, we're going to get 0 minus 3. Does -3 equal -3? It does. So we got ourselves a bingo. So we get to keep going. Next set is -5 and -3. I want you to notice how these are all -3, and I want you to look for a pattern here. So y is -3. This time x is -5, so it's -5 plus 6, which is what? 1. Here's the pattern. -5 plus 5, what's that? 0. And then -5 minus 4 is -9, minus 3. So we've been doing this. All of this is what? 0. 0 minus 3. -3 equals -3. It does. Now let's use the pattern here. Can you see it? This is 4 and -3. So y is -3. Put this 4 in, just kind of in your head up here. Is anything going to be a 0? 4 minus 4 is 0. That's the last one. So 0 times anything is 0. So it doesn't matter what's here. It doesn't matter what's here, because 0 times these things is all going to be just 0. So it's 0 minus 3. Does -3 equal -3? It still does. So all three of the things in answer choice B worked. B's the answer. We don't need to try C or D. We're done. We get it right, and we move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 2. Welcome to Question 8. What's the level of difficulty here? It's medium. This is really the last medium question on this Section 2 of this SAT, so enjoy it. For the function q, the value of q of x decreases by 45% for every increase in the value of x by 1. If q of 0 equals 14, which equation defines q? There's really two steps to this problem, and the easiest way to do it is to go through each step individually. Write down ABCD, and the first step is just to see if you get q of 0 equals 14 for these answer choices. So I'm going to do A. Q of x. Well, this says q of 0, right? Doing a function is just following directions. Equals 0.55 times 14, and then follow the directions. Every time you see an x, you're going to put in a 0. Well, anything to the 0 power is 1. So this is 0.55 times 1. You're supposed to get 14. Do you get 14? No, you get 0.55. So that didn't even work there. Let's try B. I'm going to do q of 0. I want to get to 14. So 1.45 times 14 to the what? Just follow the directions to the 0. So that's 1.45 times anything to the 0 power is 1. So times 1. That's just 1.45. I was supposed to get 14. Didn't get it. So B's gone. All right, I'm going to do C down here. I'm going to do q of 0. So that's 14 times 0.55 to the 0. That's 14 times anything to the 0 is 1. So I got 14. Okay, cool. I bet I'm going to get 14 for D, because this would be too easy otherwise. Q of 0 equals 14 times 1.45 to the 0 times 1. So I'm going to get 14. Right. So the only answer choices I have to deal with are C and D when I do the next step. What's the next step? It says q of x decreases by 45% when I increase x by 1. Well, q of 0 what do you think increasing x by 1 is? I'm going to do q of 1. And I'm just going to repeat it for c. So what is it? 14 times 0.55 to the what? Follow the directions. 1. So that's 14 times 0.55. Use your calculator. You get 7.7. Now what's supposed to happen here? You're supposed to decrease by 45%. You do not need to calculate this. If you decreased 14 by 50%, you get 7, right? We got 7.7. And that's about 45%. So that's looking good. Let's try D. Q of what? 1, because we're increasing x by 1. We increased 0 by 1. 14 times 1.45 to the follow directions, 1. Again, there's no need for calculation here. 14 times 1.45. Is that going to go up or down? It's going to go up. We're looking to go down 45%, so that doesn't work. So C's got to be the answer. You got to put your head down and do some work here, but you get it right, and you move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 2, Question 9. What's the level of difficulty here? This problem is hard, or I'm calling it hard because it's going to be hard for a lot of people. And it's like so easy that it's hard. A submersible device is used for ocean research. The function g of x equals negative 1 over 55 times x plus 19 times x minus 35. It gives the depth below the surface of the ocean in meters of the submersible device x minutes after collecting a sample. X is bigger than 0. How many minutes after collecting the sample did it take for the submersible device to reach the surface of the ocean? So I'm going to rewrite this function. You should too. The key to getting this problem right is to read the question, read the frickin' question, and understand exactly what the function is. ETS tells you right here. It's the depth below the surface of the ocean. So this function right here is what? It's the depth below the surface of the ocean. X minutes after collecting a sample. How many minutes after collecting the sample did it take for the submersible to reach the surface of the ocean? So what do we want this function to be? It says depth below the ocean. We want to get to the surface of the ocean. So how much under the ocean do we want to be if we're at the surface of the ocean? We want it to be 0. All right, the only thing you can manipulate here are the x's. This negative 1 over 55 is not going to change. The 19, the 35, nothing's going to change. Also, and this is important, x has to be bigger than 0. So how can you get this thing to be 0? The only way to do it is to make this 35. You can't make this negative 19 because x has to be bigger than 0. The only way to do it is to make it 35 minus 35. That's going to get you to a 0 here. And then it doesn't matter what anything else is, all of it's going to be 0. And so the answer is 35. That's it. You read the freaking question, you apply some common sense, you get it right, and you move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 2, Question 12. Level of difficulty is hard. Got an equation for which of the following tables are all the values of x and their corresponding values of y solutions to the given equality. Guys, we saw this exact same question in Section 1 of this very SAT. Evil Testing Service loves this question. You want to know how to be able to do it, and the way to do it is to plug in the answer choices. All you got to do is go down, do the x's and y's, and see which set works every time for the equation. So I'm going to start by writing down A. I'll write the equation. I want to keep a chart of my x's and y's because I don't want to get them confused. So the first time I do it, y is 20. Is that less than 6 times x, 6 times 3, 18 plus 2? Is 20 less than 20? It's not. So A is gone. I'm going to write A, B, C, D. I'm going to cross out A. So I go to B. All right? Keep a chart. 3 and 16. This time, y is 16. Is that less than 3 times 6, which is 18, plus 2, 20. 16 less than 20? It is. Check. Keep going. Next one is what? 5 and 36. All right, so what's our y? 36 is less than 5 times 6, 30, plus 2, 32. 36 less than 32? Nope, it's gone. Don't need to do anything else with B. Go to C. Keep a chart. First set of numbers is 3 and 16. Does that look familiar? You just did it. Check. Move on to the next one. 5 and 28. Y is 28. Is that less than 6 times 5, which is 30, plus 2, 32? Is that true? We're golden. So we move to the last one. 7 and 40. This time y is 40, so 40. Is that less than 6 times 7, 42, plus 2, 44? Is 40 less than 44? It is. So everything worked with C. I don't need to plug in with D because I didn't make anything up. I get it right, and I move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 2, Question 16. Level of difficulty is hard. A slew of people is going to miss this problem because they're going to do the algebra, they're going to get the algebra wrong, but they're going to think they got it right. So I'm going to show you how to do the algebra, sure I will, but before I do that I'm going to show you a much easier way to do this problem. The regular price of a shirt at a store is $11.70. The sale price of the shirt is 80% less than the regular price, and the sale price is 30% greater than the store's cost for the shirt. What was the store's cost in dollars for the shirt? So write down what you want. All right, everybody's going to start strong in this problem. It's going to be like, okay, man, price is $11.70. And then you can get to the sale price with one step or two steps. I'm going to go one step. I'm just going to take 0.2 times 1170. I'm going to get $2.34. Now from here, everybody's going to want to set up an equation. But you can figure this out. You know that the sale price, $2.34, is 30% greater than the store's cost. So $2.34 is 30% greater than what? Let's just try something out. I mean, let's just try $2, right? So if it's $2, 30% of $2, what is that? That's 0.6. So you'd add 60 cents to $2 and you'd get $2.60. You were looking for $2.34. That's not right, so you need to go lower. Well, let's try $1.80. Right? You're going to add 30% to it. That's 1.8 times 0.3, which is 54. And then you're going to add 180 and 0.54. And look at that. That's 234. That's what you wanted. So the right answer, you can put it in as 1.8. All right. You don't want a ninja plugin. You want to do the algebra because you insist on it. Fine. Here's how you do the algebra. What's the store's cost? That's the X, and that's why it's so important to write it down. So it's the store's cost, X, plus what? 30% of the store's cost. When we add that up, what are we supposed to get? We're supposed to get the sale price. $2.34. Now, I made it look easy, but no one, like very few people set this up right. Getting out of this, I'm going to multiply by 100 because I don't like fractions. 100x plus 30x over 100 divided by 100, so 30x. Don't forget, over here you got to multiply by 100. I would definitely do that in my calculator, even though it seems really easy to eyeball it. And then you get 130x equals 234. You divide, and at last, it's going to be 234 divided by 130. And that's 1.8. This algebra, again, is where it's going to get you. If you just plug in, you're going to get it right. But here's how to do the algebra. Whatever you do, take your time, get it right, and move on. We're on SAT Practice Test 8, Math Section 2, Question 17. Level of difficulty is hard. Before we start on this problem, I've got to go over some terms. We've got to go over congruent and similar. In geometry, congruent has a very specific meaning. It means exactly the same. So with the shape, all the sides are the same, all the angles are the same, everything you can think of is the same. Similar means the angles are the same. So that means the shape's going to have to be the same, but the sides could be different. So let's just look at two triangles. And you're going to have to trust me on this. These are equilateral triangles. So what are the degrees inside? They're all 60 degrees because equilateral means the same. All right, equilateral triangle, 60, 60, 60. What are the sides of this triangle? Let's say they're 4. Okay, does that mean that this equilateral triangle, do the sides have to be 4 as well? No, they can be anything. Let's make them 12. All right, two equilateral triangles, same angles, different sides. Are these triangles similar? Yes, they have the same angles, they have the same shape. Are they congruent? No, because they are not exactly the same. All right, that's the geometry lesson for today. Let's do this problem. In triangles ABC and DEF, angles B and E each have measure 27 degrees. Angles C and F each have measure 41 degrees. Which additional piece of information is sufficient to determine whether triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF? So I want to kind of write down what I want. Really helps to understand the question by writing it down. So just additional information congruent. All right, where are these triangles? These aren't the triangles, and they're not here. So you're going to have to draw two triangles. Don't try to draw them to scale because you don't really know what they look like. Man, that's a brutal triangle. Try and do better on this one. I'm going to label the points. I'm going to go ahead and assume that they're in the same places, although that assumption is not necessary. So B and E have 27 degrees. They're in the same spot. Okay, that's good. And C and F are 41 degrees. All right, you definitely want to write ABCD because you're definitely going to have to cross off here. We are not going to go through a geometric proof. We're just going to eliminate answers that can't be right. Do you know anything else about these triangles? For example, you know there's 180 degrees in both of them, right? You know there's 27 here, 41 here. Could you figure out how many degrees are here just with the information that we have? And of course you could. You're going to take 180 and then you're going to take 27 away, then you're going to take 41 away. And when you do that, you're going to get 112 degrees. All right. What do you think? These triangles congruent? Are they exactly the same? The angles are exactly the same, but what about the sides? We don't know about the sides. Let's go down to the answer choices and see what we can cross off easily. Do we need, as an additional piece of information, the measure of angle A? It's kind of a trick question. We already have that information. We don't need it. We already have it. It's not going to help us, but we already have it. Okay, let's look at D. No additional information is necessary. We need something, right? Because we don't know anything about the sides. So just if you kind of know anything about what congruent means, anything about any geometry, you ought to be able to get this to B and C. Now let's look at B. The length of AB. So if I know the length of AB, I'm going to make it up. I'm going to call it 8. It's my favorite number. So if I know that AB is 8, what do I know in terms of the other two sides of this triangle, and what do I know about the sides of this triangle? The fact is I don't know anything, because this is 4, we said this is 12, but it could be anything, right? So that's not going to be helpful to me. So process of elimination, it's got to be C. And there's a geometric proof here that says that if you know one side, both triangles, then you can figure out all the other sides, you can figure out if they're congruent. We're not going to go through that. The important part is A was for sure gone, D is for sure gone. If you plug in something here and think about it, you know that B is gone. It's got to be C. Get it right and move on. We're on SAT practice test 8, math section 2, question 19. Level of difficulty here. It's pretty stupid hard. When I first did this problem, I was really concerned because I was like, I know how to get this problem really easily, but it's only because I've done like 8 gazillion SAT problems. And I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to explain it. But then I read the Evil Testing Service explanation for the problem on the SAT website, and I didn't feel so bad, because my explanation is way better than that one. Which of the following expressions has a factor of x plus 2b, where b is a positive integer constant? So b is a constant, just means that ETS knows what it is, they're hiding it from you, and it's a positive integer. So you've got these things, these are called polynomials. You've been doing this for a long, long time. You know that you're going to like unfoil it, and it's going to look like this. You also should know that you're going to have 3x here and x here. And you should know that you're going to have plus signs, because these are all plus signs. You're going to need a 7. Because look, these are all multiples of 7. And where's that 7 going to have to go? It's going to have to go right here. B could be a multiple of 7, but 2 isn't. So it's going to have to go right here. So this thing right here is x plus 2b. The thing in parentheses right here. So all you got to do is figure out what's going to go right here to make one of these things happen. Let's just say b is 1. It's got to be a positive integer constant. If b is 1, then what's 2b? It's 2. I'm just going to make a chart here. If b is 2, then 2b is 4. If b is 3, then 2b is 6. b is 4, 2b is 8. b is 5, 2b is 10. b is 6, 2b is 12. b is 7, 2b is 14. And we could go on forever, but I'm out of room. And we'd run out of time. Just try one of these out. Try a b. Let's start with a nice easy one, like b equals 2. So if b equals 2, then 2b is 4. So it's x plus 4. When you FOIL this thing, it's going to be 3x squared plus 12x plus 7x, that's plus 19x, plus 28. Okay, did we get a bullseye? Unfortunately, we did not. So that one's not going to work. So you say to me, you say, Eric, this could go on forever. There's no way this is going to work. And I guess you could be really unlucky. But guys, remember what I said? There's got to be a 7 in here. Go with the 7. Try making b 7 so that 2b is 14. And when you do that, you're going to get 3x plus 7 times x plus 2b, which is 14. 3x squared plus 3x times 14. Might do it on your calculator. That's 42x plus 7x. That's 49x. Plus 7 times 14. You definitely want to do that on your calculator. You get 98. Okay, do we hit a bingo here? Well, hey man, we do get a 49x. That's good. What is our b? b is 7. 14 times 7, and that's 98. So the key to the whole problem is sevens. This makes everything work. We have an answer that fits it. It's D, and we get it right, and we move on.